Hi, I'm Marion County Commissioner Sam Brentano, and we're here for another installment of Marion County Today. In an interesting and personal subject with me today, the title sounds kind of like nothing, intellectual and development disability awareness. But it is a personal issue with me and also with Commissioner Carlson, and I think she'll be talking about it later. I'm going to introduce some special people that may be able to fill in some more of the story. But before I get going, I wanted to introduce people to my special little developmental disability. And it's this is a early picture, and her name's Caroline Woodley. Sweet Caroline to you. And she was born with a real rare condition called 5P minus. They call it Cri du Chat. And basically, it's not really hereditary, but it's a chromosome breaks off and a piece is gone, and therefore it's like a house being built without the complete set of plans. When we first heard about it, very sad. What we got from the doctors was that she would lay and look in a ceiling the rest of her life. But then there was something about with family involvement and special training and again more involvement, repeating that word, but they can thrive. Well, Caroline's 5.5 now, and just last night is what made it so. I hope I don't get sad here. But just last night, she's had a device, a walker, been in the corner of the house for year or so. She couldn't do anything with it. But I'm talking about Caroline. Sarah's her mother, and Sarah's tough. Sarah went battling for her and got some additional training and time, school time, went to the top. And apparently, from what I get from Sarah, kids like Caroline who have the most desperate needs in the state of Oregon are getting 1.4%, excuse me, I'm saying that wrong, 1.4% of those children needing these services are getting them. So therefore the rest, the 98.6 aren't. So our battle is to extend those. I'm hoping they'll have a little film of this travel around the living room.
Come on. You can.
But I'm done with that. But I want to meet people who live this both in their personal and their professional life. And I wanted to introduce them to you. And Scott and Heidi Eberts. And I'm going to ask you, I know your parents, of course, and maybe similar stories to what I told. I don't know, I suspect. But go ahead and tell us about yourself and some of your experiences.
Well, I'm a case manager for Marion County DD Services, and I serve clients just like your granddaughter, the children who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. And this is my wife, Heidi, and together we have a son, and we have 3 children. Our oldest is high-functioning Asperger's, and our youngest is profoundly affected by autism. And what I do professionally is I provide services along with my team, to adults and children who have IDD. We focus on a new concept in how services are delivered. We focus on providing our clients with choices, a choice-driven plan. It's a person-centered operation in how we do our job. We want to give them the greatest possibility of success and gaining independence. Like your granddaughter, we would like to provide clients like her with the tools and training necessary to achieve that highest level of independence.
Well, and Heidi, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like you, when our son was first diagnosed at about 2.5 years old, we were devastated and we were lost. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know what services were out there. And it was very overwhelming. And it wasn't until we connected with Marion County and we got a case manager, and Gage got into a really great school with a wraparound team where we had psychologists meeting with us, behavior specialists, that we were actually able to get supports put in place for him. And kind of like you, we were told he'll probably never live away from you, he'll never talk, he'll never do anything typical kids do. And
He's
not true.
He's proving them wrong.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Carol is too, and you just remind me what I left out. I was really trying to draw the point that my daughter working to get these additional services. It's only been a month or so, and look at the gains.
Right.
Right.
And so how important is it? But you live this at home and at work.
Right. It's a real challenge, and we get through it every single day. We're a team at home, and I'm part of a team at work. Heidi makes a really good point in that we really were adrift before we found services for our son. You feel like you live on an island when you have a child like this, because you're essentially trapped at home. You're a prisoner in your own home. We have a very behavioral child. He requires a lot of supports, people who work closely with him to manage those behaviors. And it's a difficult lifestyle. We've lost close friendships over it. Our lives have been really changed by it. And I like to think they were changed for the better, because we use what we learn in our jobs and employ that at home, that knowledge at home. And when I stayed at home with my son for almost 10 years and helped provide him with a support system, really build a support system to help him gain that maximum, chance, that success. And so now my personal mission was to replicate that success for my client families. I want to reach out to parents, encourage them to connect with us, because we have so much to give them and teach them about how to find that success and repeat these stories like your granddaughter and our son.
So the question I'm supposed to ask about is the obstacles to getting these services, and you can hear from my story that my daughter Sarah's had many obstacles, and it wasn't until she just play hardball and go to the top that things change.
Right.
So how can you help others get that without
Your case manager, my experience with my case manager was an amazing experience. They became our friend and our advocate, and they connected us with resources, referred us to different agencies, and helped us reach a really high level of advocacy for our son, to not just access the tools, but really demand the supports, and helped us find ways to reach out and get those tools that we needed. And I mean, it's a very complex process, and that's what I do now. Is I step alongside these parents and guide them through this obstacle course of regulations and rules, and try to clear that path for them, and try to take away some of that frustration, and give them the kinds of supports that we use.
I hope I don't get you in trouble with this, but it's money and it's political will too, isn't that part of it? For example, when I talk about the 96 point, I can't do the math, that aren't getting these services, they have plans, it's all designed for them. Does this sound familiar? But yet those plans aren't followed or funded, or so what's going on?
Well, when we first became part of the system, our son had a very cookie cutter plan. It was the same plan that you would see 50 or 100 other kids have. Well, the philosophy now has changed and created a more person-centered process. When I sit down for the first time with a client, I ask them questions about, what are your dreams? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve in your life? Where do you see yourself going in training and education? And how can I get you to that place? And you're right, it's a political process too, funding.
I'm going to run out of time, but how does Marion County relate to the others that I'm hearing of, and you must have run into? ESD, Education Department, Human Services. We only have a minute left, but do you coordinate? Is that what you do?
Yes.
You coordinate that?
Yes. We coordinate with federal, state, and local agencies to try to put together a process that gets those kids and adults the best chance at success with the resources that we have.
So how do people get involved?
I encourage,
and who do?
I encourage everyone to early intervention is the key for young people. The sooner that the parents or guardians or caregivers begin to realize that something's amiss, they're missing developmental milestones, they should reach out right away to us, Marion County DD Services, 503-588-5288. We have an intake person that will talk to them, provide them with the links and connections they need to make an application to figure out if they are eligible. And then I strongly encourage them to reach out to the Willamette ESD if they live here in Salem. There's an evaluation intake process that they can participate in that can help them figure out what exactly is going on.
They can start with you and you can help
Yes.
guide them immediately.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm running out of time, but I'm so happy to meet you, and I think I'm going to need to meet you some more.
Absolutely. I'd
Somewhere
love
else.
to sit down and talk with you. I'd love to meet your granddaughter.
Oh, neat.
Hi, I'm Janet Carlson, Marion County Commissioner, and here on Marion County Today, we are with Joanne Hill,
Yes.
who is a parent and also works with RISE, which
Yes.
is an employment service.
It is. It's also a residential program service, so we do both.
Excellent. So does RISE stand for something?
No,
Just
RISE.
Just RISE. Okay, I
Yes.
was curious. Okay.
Yes.
So tell me what does RISE do and what is your role there?
So my role currently is as a discovery specialist. We in the employment sector work with job seekers who are persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities to obtain community employment. So that's done through a variety of things. It's career exploration, it's job readiness and skills training. It is informational interviews to learn about the jobs of interest that are available. It is bringing candidates to jobs, job development in the local community, as well as retention services. So we want to assure that those people that get those positions have long-term success. So it's a lot of follow along.
Great. So how did you get involved with RISE?
Well, I have been in the field for a very long time, and it stemmed from being a 15-year-old with a best friend whose parents both had cerebral palsy and were in wheelchairs. And there was a constant struggle with in-home care, as well as persons outside of the home feeling that parents with disabilities couldn't care for their son, my best friend. So seeing those struggles really engaged me to want to be a part of seeing everyone have equality and equal opportunity. So that started the mission of many, many years, almost 30 now, of working in disability services.
So about how many people are you working with right now?
Right now, I'm actively working with 10 people on career exploration. So that's done, it's a very individualized service, and it's really looking at a person's skills and interests and how they might relate to community employment.
And then we just heard from who Commissioner Brentano was interviewing about some of the obstacles that people have when they have intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Yes.
How do you help employers understand that better and match the right person to the right job?
It's really about education. It's about bringing people into situations doing either informational interviews or even working interviews where a person can come in and demonstrate their skill set for an employer. So it's educating the employers as to how that person can be an asset to their business, bring diversity to the workplace, as well as educate the community that these things are possible. I think some of the barriers at times are people that are job seekers that have never thought this as a possibility before. So it's really moving in that direction where people are seeing themselves a part of their community.
So pretend like I'm an employer. What is it that you wish that I would know? What are some important things that I should know?
I would want you to know that the services available to you as an employer, as well as that employee, assure that long-term success. Retention is huge. People that hire want employees that come and stay and do good work. And part of the supports available to the IDD population assure those things. They bring tax benefits, they bring self-sufficiency to the job seeker. They really promote independence to that business as well as the individual as an employee.
Excellent. Now we're going to bring up Larry, and Larry and Joanne are going to talk a little bit more about what RISE does. Larry, welcome to the program.
Thanks.
And Joanne, you were talking about RISE just a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Can you tell us what Larry's role is with RISE, how he connected to that?
Well, Larry was a job seeker who was looking for community employment, and Larry is a homeowner who wants to be self-sufficient, earn a paycheck. So he was an active job seeker, and we had job development services. He had a job developer who located a position that matched his skills.
So let's let him talk about the position. I just wanted you to set it up for us.
Yes.
So where do you work, Larry?
At the Office Max,
And what do you do at Office Max?
I do the sack shelves and clean.
All right. Do you like what you do?
Oh yes, I do like it. I have the best people to work with and all kind of things.
Very good. So how many hours do you work a week?
3 hours.
3 hours a week?
Yep.
Okay, very good. How long have you been at Office Max?
Ooh, I don't know how long I worked.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I think probably
About
a little
5
over
weeks.
a month?
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
when
well,
they're-
kind of like
okay.
that, yeah. Mm.
All right. And so what does having a job help you do that you couldn't have if you didn't have a job?
I don't have a job. I just try to find a good one, and then I try to have that job.
Uh-huh. Does having the income help you at all, the money coming in?
Oh, yes, so a little bit fine, and like that.
And does it make you feel good to be working?
Yes.
Very good. Anything else you want to tell us about your job or your life now?
It's good, and I like it.
Very good.
And your boss is always telling you what a great job you're doing.
Oh, yes.
So if I was an employer and I was listening to this program, if I wanted to hire someone like Larry, what would I do?
Well, you would be open to allowing us the opportunity to come in and get to know your business, because that helps us match qualified candidates to the positions that are available, allowing us to educate on the benefits of assistance with placing a job seeker in an open position, as well as the long-term supports that are available through the support services brokerage, Marion County DD services, vocational rehabilitation. There are all kinds of services available to assure long-term success in employment for persons with disabilities.
Excellent. So anything else that you wanted to tell us about RISE, or anything else Larry wants to share?
No,
No?
think so.
Okay.
Perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate you being on the program and all the good work that you do.
Thank you. And thank you, Larry.
Yep.
We're back with our last two guests on today's episode of Marion County Today. We have Katie O'Kelly and Deborah Patterson. Welcome, both of you. And it says you are a grandparent,
Yes.
is that right, of a child with a
Yes.
disability? And you are a parent of a child with a disability. And both of you are volunteers, as were pretty much everybody today, although we haven't talked about this, you're going to talk about it, with Marion County's Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Committee.
Yes. Exactly.
So you've been serving on the committee. This is a brand new committee for Marion County. So how did you get involved in this committee? Katie, let's start with you.
I was contacted by my granddaughter's case manager at Marion County and told through an email about this committee that was forming, and sent me some information with links and said if I was interested that I could maybe apply for this. I wasn't sure at first if that's what I wanted to do. I had to give it a lot of thought because I'm very busy all the time. But the more I thought about it, I thought, yes, let's do it. So I filled out my application and sent it in.
Excellent. And Deborah, what's your story on how you got involved?
Well, we moved here about 6 years ago, just like a lot of people are moving to Oregon for my husband's work. And we were brand new. We knew a lot about the resources where we used to live, but nothing in this area. And so it was just, I was exploring every avenue, leaving no stone unturned. And I saw a little thing in the paper about this committee, and so I joined it. But we were receiving services already through the county, because we learned about it through our high school, through the teacher. But I must say, it was like when on an airplane they said, put your mask on first. This was like the oxygen, because we were just floundering. Our daughter was in high school, and soon the end was in sight. We didn't know what was going to happen next. And she has both intellectual and developmental disabilities, and we were really afraid. But I've got to tell you that Marion County's Developmental Disability Services, they didn't pay me to say this, are amazing. They have way faster response times than anything I've ever seen, and they are so compassionate, and it's not one size fits all. They really do individually tailor their help to try to address everyone's needs. And I know a lot of new people are coming into the system all the time, and they're really ramping up to deal with it all.
Well, that's great to hear. So this committee started, last year? It hasn't been
Yes.
around too long.
It was a year in December.
A year in December.
Yeah, our first meeting was a year ago, December.
So what kind of things do you do in the committee? What do you talk about?
So far, we've spent a lot of time learning about the new K plan that is out there and available, and has changed the look of the services that are being provided to folks. And so it's been a lot to take in and a lot to learn. From my standpoint, as being a grandparent with custody of a child with disabilities, I can really see the differences in what has happened with this K plan. So we've spent a lot of time learning the ins and outs of what they do and everything that happens, and so that we can be more informed about the decisions that we try to help make.
And I don't think we have time to actually go into the nuances of the K plan.
No.
That should be another whole show, so we won't try to get there. But needless to say, it's like you said, it's a different way of delivering
Yes.
developmental disability services. And what else, Deborah, have you learned or done being part of this committee?
Well, it's a lot of education around different things, but they're so transparent. For example, they talked a lot about quality insurance plans that they have in place, and are very careful to explain everything to us so that we can be representatives out in the community helping other parents to know, what's happening and what's available. I really would like to encourage any parents out there to think about volunteering for this committee. There still are a few openings. I realize there is a process to go through since that it is appointed by the commissioners. Yes. But it's not a busy work kind of committee. It's really accomplishing a lot, I believe.
Well, I had a chance to appear in front of the committee because we're working on the Kaiser Big Toy,
Exactly.
and wanted to get your advice on what we might do to make sure that there were accommodations in the components or the facility itself, and got some great advice from not only the volunteers that serve on the committee, but also the staff that are working on it. So I know it's been a big help for me, and I think that part of the goal is to advise our department from your perspective about what we can do to keep those services responsive to your needs.
Yes.
Also, I believe that there's a resource fair coming up again this year in March, and so it's really helpful to have that interface to get the word out about things that are maybe not ongoing, but important for the community to know about too. So,
Right. Something I was supposed to make sure that I said too is that the health department and your committee actually make information available. They have a brochure that doctors have and schools have, like you mentioned, your teacher made the referral for you, so that information is out around the community and people can know how to refer. But I want to make sure that we talk about Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, because that's the big reason that we're doing this program right now. So you've been planning some activities. Tell me about why are you doing this, and why is it important, and what kind of activities do you have planned? You want to start?
Well, it's important because we just need people to be aware of, the way I look at it is awareness comes from being educated. Because people tend to shy away from the things that they don't understand, and so people have preconceived ideas about children or adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and I think it's more of teaching people that they're people just like everybody else, and I don't know, it's just getting that awareness out there, teaching people, educating them about what it's all about, that these kids and these adults out there are just wonderful human beings and people, and whatever we can do to help that along. We've been planning for a while. We've been trying to get some posters out to show that people are part of our community in the workforce, and how they play and how do they go to school, and just to be a part of everything. And we've got plans for some banners across the roads, and just to let people know, hey, this is Awareness Month. Just
Excellent.
to bring it to their attention.
Anything you want to add?
I'd like to tell you a short story if I could, and that is when we came, our daughter was almost done with high school, and when she finished high school, she did some other things, and she was trying to find volunteer work. And so we took her to a shelter, an animal shelter, where we thought she could volunteer. But it turns out, after a lot of orientation and going through the program, that my husband came home, and he was actually in tears, and he said, "Do you know what our daughter is able to do after all of this? We have to accompany her all the time, and all she will be allowed to do is just pet the dog in the cage. She can't take the dog for a walk. She can't feed the dog." And so he cried and said, "Our daughter's not even able to pet a dog." And so that's why this awareness is so important for her. Now she's working with RISE, actually. She just became a new client, and she has an interview at a nonprofit this Friday, and she is so excited. She's got a renewed life, from wanting to not even get out of bed in the morning to asking me, I told Joanne, asking me if I could buy her a new pair of jeans and a new shirt so that she'd have something nice to wear for her interview. So she's so excited, and it's a whole new life for her. And so the resources that are available, people don't necessarily know what they are, and this is such a gift to be able to connect them. And IDDAC does a fantastic job as an interface between the county and these many resources that are available.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for being on the program today and for all that you're doing in your service to Marion County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brentano opened the show talking about his granddaughter Carolyn, and I will close the show by talking about my grandson Brock. In thinking about what I might say, I remembered that my daughter was asked to put together her thoughts about what she had learned from being Brock's parent. So I'm going to read you some portions of what she wrote because she says it much more eloquently than I can. In 2008, my son Brock was born. He has Down syndrome, autism, a sensory processing disorder, and an immune deficiency. And he is the most beautiful, glorious, resilient, optimistic person I have ever known. In his short 6 years, he has already survived 8 surgeries or procedures. He is a fighter and has changed my husband and myself for the better and given us fresh lenses through which to see and appreciate the beauty in life. We have felt heaven in our midst daily. Brock has redefined love and joy for me, and I will be forever indebted to God for blessing me to be his mother. President Monson gave a talk shortly after Brock was born that said, "Learn from the past, prepare for the future, live in the present." This has become my life's philosophy. If I were to live in the fear of what might come to Brock in the future, I would be robbed of the joy Heavenly Father intended me to feel as his parent. When I ask myself, am I grateful to be his mother right now? The answer is always yes. Before Brock was born, I wanted his crib to be as close to the bed as possible so I wouldn't have to go very far in the middle of the night. Once I came home from the NICU, I was just grateful for all of us to be home, and I didn't care how much I was up at night. It has been that way with so many other issues. I hear parents complain regularly about things I would give anything for, making messes around the house when we waited so long for him to be mobile at all, getting into everything when we rejoice in his curiosity, and for years hearing parents complain about their children asking why all the time. We have prayed, fasted, and Brock has been blessed that he will talk someday. I have promised myself that when that day comes, I will never lose patience over the question why. I will answer his whys all day long if it means that he will talk. I have become a firm believer in the abundance mentality versus the scarcity mentality. One person's success does not take away from another person's success. Just because Brock has cousins who were born after him and achieved milestones before him doesn't diminish what he has worked for. I have learned to celebrate every milestone whenever it happens. I have learned that our worth is not dependent on what we can do. Our worth is set. We are all children of the Most High God. Worth is different than worthiness. Worthiness is what determines our standing before God, and that worthiness is not defined by accomplishments, by who we become, our nature or character. My son came into this world as a mighty, righteous, pure, patient, happy spirit. I can only hope that in a lifetime on this earth that I can become a kind of person that he already is. One of the most pivotal moments for me as a parent to Brock happened a little over a year ago. Brock has multiple therapy appointments every day, so I spend a lot of time working in my car while I wait for him. On this particular day, I was throwing a small pity party for myself about how different my life was than I had planned. I then noticed this sweet boy, probably about 4 years old, struggling to walk from his car to the door of the clinic using a walker. Even though the distance was only about 20 feet, it took this boy a solid minute to reach the door. As I watched him struggle, the Spirit testified to me how blessed I am to live a life surrounded by these beautiful, pure spirits and the adults who have chosen a life of helping through therapy. My world is a kinder, gentler world than most, and I should be so grateful for this blessing. I'm so grateful for my son and that I'll have been blessed with the gift of being his mother. He is my joy and fulfillment, and I'm so grateful for a loving God who has given me the life I need instead of the life I thought I wanted. Thank you for watching Marion County Today.